Did you like the bourbon, Dad? That was the question my son Mike asked me over the phone, barely 3 hours after he'd handed it to me for my birthday. My answer froze him cold, silence stretching over the line like a funeral shroud. I gave it to your father-in-law, son. He loved it. My name is Frank Miller. I'm 73 years old, and for my entire life I worked as a welder at Keystone Steel Works, right here in Pittsburgh. For 40 years, these hands held the torch that built structures, tanks, and heavy machinery that got shipped all over the country. These hands shake a little now from age, but they used to be the steadiest in the whole plant. Today is my birthday, 73 years, and I'm sitting in the living room of my little house, waiting for a son who doesn't see me as his father anymore, but as an obstacle. The morning broke gray, like the sky knew something bad was coming down the pike. I got up early, same as always, 5 in the morning. That's a habit you don't just shake off after 4 decades of waking up before dawn to punch the clock. I brewed my black coffee, strong and bitter just the way I like it, and sat on the porch to watch the sun come up over the hills. My house is small, but it's mine. I paid for it with the sweat of 40 years, dollar by dollar. 2 bedrooms, a modest living room, a kitchen that always smells like bacon and toast, and this porch, where I keep my tomato plants and the flower pots my late wife Connie planted before she passed. Mike had told me he'd swing by in the morning. Dad, I'm coming over early to celebrate. I've got a surprise you're gonna love. His voice sounded different on the phone, a little off, like when we were kids and he'd broken a window but was trying to sound innocent. At 9 o'clock sharp, I heard his truck pull up. A new white Toyota Tacoma he bought last year when he started making better money with his accounting firm. Mike was always sharp with numbers, but lately he'd gotten sharp with other things too. Things I didn't care for. He knocked 3 times. Knock, knock, knock. Just like he'd done since he was a boy. Dad, happy birthday. I opened the door and there he was. Mike, my firstborn. 42 years old, dressed sharp in a sky blue shirt I gave him for Christmas, dark jeans, polished shoes. He was smiling, but that smile didn't reach his eyes. He was carrying a gift bag. Look what I got you, he said, pulling a bottle out of the bag. It was a fancy bottle, single barrel bourbon, 25 years old. The kind with the gold wax seal you see on the top shelf but never buy. It's the good stuff, Dad. Top of the line. He hugged me. A quick, awkward hug, like he was in a rush to be somewhere else. Thanks, son, I said, taking the bottle. It was heavy, cold, and the label caught the morning light. It's beautiful. But you know I don't drink much these days. Oh, come on, Dad. It's your birthday. 1 drink isn't going to kill you. Besides, this bottle is special. I had it imported just for you. Something about the way he said special made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, like when you're on the job site and you sense a cable is about to snap, a sense of danger you can't quite explain. You spend your whole life trying to protect your kids from the world. You never think you might need to protect yourself from them. You want to crack it open now? He asked, glancing toward the kitchen. No, son, it's too early for booze. I'll save it for dinner. I saw his face change for a split second, a flash of disappointment, maybe anger. It was fast, but I caught it. All right, Dad, whatever you say. Then he added, You gonna be alone today? Is anyone else coming over? Rose is coming by this afternoon, and Jimmy said he'd stop in after his shift. Why? No reason, just asking. He settled onto the sofa, but he looked restless, tapping his foot like he was sitting on ants. Dad, I need to ask you something. Have you updated your will? The question hit me like a bucket of ice water. Not because it's weird to talk about that stuff at my age, but because of how he asked it. Direct, cold, like he'd been waiting for the right second to pounce. Why are you asking me that on my birthday, Mike? It's just that, well, Trish and I are thinking of getting married soon, and, you gotta plan for the future. Trish says it's important for families to have their ducks in a row. Trish, his girlfriend of 8 months, a pretty nurse over at County General, but she always looked at me like she was calculating my scrap value, like I was a problem she needed to solve. My will is in order, I told him. Everything is split 3 ways between you, Rose, and Jimmy. The house, my savings, everything.
And how much do you have saved, Dad? I mean, just so we know if it's enough for your care.
That's when I knew something was rotting in the foundation. Mike had never asked about my money so blatantly. He'd always been respectful. I've got enough to live in peace, Mike. Don't worry about it. He went quiet for a moment, staring at the bourbon bottle I'd set on the coffee table. Dad, you know what? We really should open it. Just a quick toast for your birthday. I'm already here, right? There it was again, that strange insistence, like it was life or death that I take a drink from that specific bottle. Mike, it's 9:30 in the morning. Oh, Dad, live a little. Besides, you're not getting any younger. Gotta seize the moment, right? The way he said, not getting any younger, sounded hollow, like a threat dressed up as a joke. I stood up and went to the kitchen to get 2 tumblers. While I was reaching into the cabinet, I felt his eyes drilling into my back, tracking every move. When I came back, he'd already cracked the seal and opened the bottle. I'll pour, Dad. You sit down and relax. He poured 2 drinks, mine a little fuller than his. Cheers, Dad. To many more years. We raised our glasses. I was about to take a sip when I heard a knock at the door. Expecting someone? Mike asked, his face twisting into something I couldn't read. No, I said, putting the glass down on the table. I'll see who it is. It was Fred, Trish's father, an older guy about my age who worked as a mechanic at a shop near the strip mall. Frank, happy birthday. I'm here on behalf of my daughter, Trish. She sent me over with this cake for your party. Fred was a good guy, honest. I'd liked him ever since I met him a few months back. Well, that's kind of you, Fred. Come on in, Mike's here. When we walked into the living room, I saw Mike's face.
He'd gone pale, white as a sheet, like he'd seen a ghost.
Hey, Mike, Fred said.
Hi, Fred,
Mike answered, his voice cracking. Look, Fred, I said, Mike brought me this top-shelf bourbon. You want a taste? And that's where the track switched. Fred saw the bottle and his eyes lit up. Whoa, single barrel. That's the real deal. I wouldn't say no to a splash. Mike shot up from the couch. No, that bottle is special, Dad. I brought it especially for you. But I was already pouring Fred a glass. I don't know why I did it. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was God whispering in my ear, telling me to hold off. I gave the bourbon to Fred, I repeated to Mike on the phone later. The silence on the line was so long I thought the call had dropped. When he finally spoke, his voice was shattered. What? What did you say, Dad? I said I gave the bottle to Fred, I repeated, not understanding why he sounded so unhinged.
He came over to wish me a happy birthday and, it's good manners to share a gift that nice.
No, Mike mumbled. Did he drink it?
Of course he did, son. We had a few rounds together. That's some smooth stuff you bought. Fred even said he'd never tasted anything that went down so easy.
What followed was something I'll never forget as long as I live. Mike started screaming like a cornered animal. It wasn't words at first, just a howl of pure terror. No, Dad, no! How much? How much did he drink? His scream was so loud I had to pull the phone away from my ear. Mike, what the hell is wrong with you? Are you crazy? Why are you yelling? Answer me! How much did Fred drink? His desperation was so real, so raw, that a cold knot tightened in my gut. Like when you're welding and the metal buckles and you know something is wrong. Dead wrong. He drank. He had about 3 glasses, Mike.
Why? What's wrong with the bourbon? Another silence, but this one was heavy. It was the silence of a man realizing his whole world just went up in smoke.
Dad, What, Mike? Spit it out. And then he hung up. The coward hung up on me. I stood there in the kitchen, phone in hand, trying to wrap my head around what the hell just happened. My son, who had walked in smiling this morning, just had a panic attack because I shared his gift. The bottle was sitting there on the table, half empty, elegant, golden, looking harmless. But now I was terrified to look at it. I dialed Fred's number immediately. I had to know he was okay. Hello? Fred, it's Frank. How are you feeling? Are you okay? Oh, Frank, honestly, I'm feeling a little rough. My stomach's been turning since I left your place. I thought maybe I ate something bad for breakfast, but now that you mention it, I feel cold. What exactly are you feeling, Fred? Nausea. Dizzy. Like I've got a fever coming on, and my head is pounding. Trish is here. She's making me some peppermint tea, but it's not helping. Fred, listen to me carefully. Go to the hospital right now. Have Trish take you to the ER. Tell them it might be poisoning. Poisoning? What are you talking about, Frank? I'll explain later. Just go. Don't waste time. I hung up and sank into the kitchen chair. My hands were shaking, but not from age, from rage. A fury was rising up from my gut to my throat like bile. My son, my own flesh and blood, had tried to poison me. And the worst part was, the pieces fit. The questions about the will, the savings, asking if I'd be alone, the rush to get me to drink, the panic when Fred showed up, it all made sick sense. Mike wanted me dead. His own father. I got up and went to the bathroom, looked at myself in the mirror. 73 years old, but I've still got iron in my spine. I've still got fight in me. And now, I had a war on my hands. I went back to the kitchen and grabbed the bottle. I smelled it. It didn't smell off, but that didn't mean a thing. There are plenty of poisons that don't smell or taste like anything. The phone rang. It was Mike again. Dad, tell me. How do you feel? I feel fine. Why shouldn't I feel fine, Mike? No reason. It's just wanted to know if you needed anything. What I need, I said slowly, letting the words hang, is for you to explain why you lost your mind when I told you I gave the bourbon to Fred. I didn't lose my mind, Dad. I was just surprised, that's all. Mike, I didn't fall off the turnip truck yesterday. There's something in that bottle. Something bad. Don't talk crazy, Dad. You're imagining things. Imagining? Fred is sick. He's been sick since he left here, since he drank your bourbon. And you panicked when I told you. Another long pause. Dad, I'm coming over. We need to talk. No, I said. You're not coming to my house. I'm coming to yours. What for? So you can explain what the hell you put in that bottle you gave me for my birthday. And I hung up. I changed my clothes, put on my good slacks, a crisp white shirt, my work boots. If I was going to face my son, I was going to do it standing tall, like the man I am. Before leaving, I called Rose. Dad, how are you? Did Mike show up? Rose, I need you to come to my house right now. Something very serious is happening. What happened? Not over the phone. Just come and bring Jimmy with you. Dad, you're scaring me. You should be scared, honey. Your brother Mike just tried to kill me." The silence on Rose's end was different than Mike's. It was the silence of shock, of someone trying to process the impossible. "What did you say?" "You heard me. Mike brought me a poisoned bottle of bourbon for my birthday. Thank God I gave it to Fred instead of drinking it myself." "Dad, that can't be true." "I'll prove it to you in an hour. Meet me at the house. And Rose?" "Yeah?" "Bring your phone. We're going to need to record what's about to happen." I grabbed the keys to my old truck and headed for Mike's place. It was time my son and I had a very serious conversation, a conversation that was going to change everything forever. Mike's house was in Oakwood Estates, one of those new developments where every house looks exactly the same and the lawns are too perfect. When I pulled up, I saw his Toyota in the driveway, but there was another car I didn't recognize, a beat-up white sedan with out-of-state plates. I parked my truck across the street and sat there for a minute, breathing deep. 42 years. That boy had lived 42 years. And I had worked every single day of those 42 years to give him the best, so he could go to college, have clean clothes, new shoes, be someone in this world. And this is how he pays me back, by trying to put me in the ground. I banged on the door, hard, 3 solid hits that echoed down the block. Mike opened the door, but he wasn't the same man who'd come to my house that morning. His face was a wreck, eyes red, hands shaking. "Dad, Move," I said, pushing past him gently but firmly. "We're talking inside." I walked into his living room. It was nice, new furniture, big TV, everything tidy. Furniture bought with the money he made being an accountant, an honest job I paid for with my sweat. But there, sitting on the sofa, was her, Trish, the nurse, the girlfriend, the accomplice, and next to her, a guy I didn't know. Skinny, dark hair, looked like a rat. He had a medical bag at his feet. "Afternoon," I said, looking at Trish first, then the stranger. "Who are you in this story?" Trish looked pale, nervous. She jumped up from the sofa like it was hot. "Frank, sit down," I barked. "You're going to listen to what I have to say." The skinny guy extended a hand. "Pleasure. I'm Dr. Roberts. I'm a friend of Trish's." I didn't shake his hand. "Doctor of what?" "General practitioner. I work at a private clinic." That's when the whole picture clicked. Mike, Trish the nurse, and this doctor, the 3 of them. A perfect conspiracy to get rid of a stubborn old man. "Mike," I said, not taking my eyes off the doctor, "explain to me exactly what you put in that bourbon." Mike sat in a chair far away from me like he was afraid I was going to hit him. And maybe he was right to be afraid. "Dad, I can explain everything." "Then explain. I've got all the time in the world." Mike looked at Trish, then the doctor, then me. It was just to make you sleep, Dad, that's all." "To make me sleep?" "Yeah, just a deep sleep. And what, Mike?" The doctor cleared his throat. "Mr. Miller, allow me to explain. What your son put in the bourbon was a very strong sedative, sodium pentobarbital. In small doses, it causes deep sleep. In high doses, it kills," I finished for him. "Exactly." I stepped up to the doctor until I was right in his face. "And how much did you put in my drink, Doc?" The doctor swallowed hard. The dose we used, it was lethal, Mr. Miller." Trish started crying. Fake crocodile tears. "Frank, we didn't want to hurt you. It was just that... That what? That I was in the way? That you wanted my money? That you needed me dead to get the inheritance?
Mike stood up abruptly. It wasn't about the money, Dad.
Oh no? Then why?
Because you don't have any quality of life anymore. You live alone. You're sad since Mom died. You don't do anything productive. I slapped him, a hard, dry slap that cracked through the room, the kind that leaves a mark. Mike touched his cheek, stunned.
Do I get to decide when my life has no quality, you idiot? Do I get to decide when I want to die? Not you!
Trish kept sobbing. Frank, please understand. Mike told me you were suffering so much that you were depressed, that sometimes you said you wanted to die. When did I say that, Mike? When? Mike didn't answer. He couldn't answer because it was a lie. And even if I had said it, I continued, that doesn't give you the right to kill me. If I wanted to check out, I'd do it myself. I don't need my son's help. The doctor opened his bag and pulled out a small vial. Look, Mr. Miller, this is the vial of pentobarbital we used. It's almost empty. We put 15 milliliters in the bourbon. That dose would have caused respiratory arrest in less than 2 hours. I snatched the vial from his hands.
And what about Fred? Is he going to have respiratory arrest too?
Well, he only had 3 glasses. He's probably going to feel terrible. Nausea, dizziness, maybe mild seizures. But if he gets to the hospital in time...
He's already at the hospital.
I cut him off. And when the doctors run the tox screen, they're going to find pentobarbital in his blood. And they're going to ask questions. And they're going to call the cops. The 3 of them went silent, like they hadn't even thought of that possibility. Amateurs. They wanted to kill me, and they hadn't even thought about the consequences. You know what hurts the most? I said, pacing the room like a caged lion. It's not that you wanted to kill me. Hell, I can almost understand that. There are some evil people in this world. I stopped in front of Mike. What hurts is that it was you. My son. The boy I taught to ride a bike. The boy who cried when he scraped his knee and I fixed him up with peroxide and a bandage. The boy who told me, when I grow up, I want to be just like you, Dad. Mike started crying, but I didn't feel pity anymore. The boy I supported when I didn't have a job, who I put through college by selling my own tools, who I loaned money to start his business. Trish tried to speak. Frank, Shut up, I yelled. You don't get to speak here. You're not family. You're just a greedy gold digger who convinced my son to kill me. I sat down facing them. Now you're going to explain the whole plan from the beginning. How were you going to explain my death? What were you going to say when you found me? The doctor spoke with a trembling voice. We were going to say you drank the whole bottle, that it was an accident, alcohol poisoning that got out of hand. And where were you going to be when that happened? Mike was going to come visit you in the evening. He was going to find you already gone. And after my funeral, what? You were going to get married on my dime? Mike nodded, weeping. We had debts. Dad, the business isn't doing well. Trish has to support her dad. You needed me dead? Yes. And Rose and Jimmy? Were you going to kill them too? No, just you. They were going to get their share. I stood up and headed for the door. Where are you going, Dad? To call the police. The 3 of them scrambled to their feet, terrified. Dad, no, we're family. I turned to Mike one last time. No, Mike, we're not family anymore. Children don't kill their parents, and parents don't forgive children who try to murder them. I walked out of the house and toward my truck. Behind me, I heard Trish screaming, the doctor babbling about fleeing, and Mike crying like a toddler. But I had already made my decision.
This wasn't going to end here. When I got back to my house, Rose and Jimmy were waiting. I saw them from down the street, sitting on the porch chairs, talking in hushed tones. Rose looked worried sick, and Jimmy looked confused, like he couldn't figure out why I'd summoned them like this. When I got out of the truck, they both stood up and came to me. "Dad, what's going on?" Rose asked. "You scared us half to death with that call." "Sit down," I said, pointing to the patio table. "What I'm about to tell you, you're not going to believe, but it's the honest truth." Jimmy looked at me with those eyes he's had since he was a kid, knowing something was wrong. "Where's Mike? You said he'd be here too." "Mike isn't coming. Mike is the problem." I placed the bourbon bottle on the table. Rose looked at it, puzzled. "It's beautiful. Did Mike give you that?" "Yes, he gave it to me, but not to celebrate my birthday. He gave it to me to kill me. The silence that followed was so heavy you could cut it with a knife." Rose and Jimmy looked at each other, then at me, waiting for the punchline. "Dad?" Jimmy said slowly. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying your brother Mike, along with his girlfriend Trish, and a doctor named Roberts, put poison in this bourbon to kill me. Sodium pentobarbital, they call it. A dose that would have put me in the ground in 2 hours. Rose covered her mouth with her hands. "That can't be true, Dad. Mike would never do something like that." "Mike not only would do it, he did do it. The only thing that saved him from being a murderer is that I gave the bottle to Fred instead of drinking it myself." "Fred? Fred drank it?" Jimmy asked, alarmed. 3 glasses. And now he's in the hospital because he got sick. When they run the tests, they're going to find the poison." Rose started to cry. Not the fake tears Trish cried, but the real tears of a sister realizing her big brother is a monster. "But why? Why would Mike do that? For money? For the inheritance? Because he has debts and thinks I'm useless?" Jimmy grabbed the bottle and sniffed it. "And how do you know it's poison?" "Because I went to his house to confront him. And he, Trish, and the doctor confessed everything. They told me they put 15 milliliters of pentobarbital in it. They told me it was a lethal dose. They told me the plan was for Mike to find me dead tonight and say it was an accident." Rose was sobbing harder now. "I can't believe it." "Mike was always the responsible one, the one who helped you the most. That Mike doesn't exist anymore, honey. The Mike we knew died when he decided to kill me." Jimmy stood up and started pacing in circles, just like he does when he's furious. "So what are we going to do? Did you call the cops?" "Not yet. I wanted to talk to you first. I wanted you to know the truth before this becomes a scandal." "He has to go to jail," Jimmy said, stopping in front of me. "Dad, Mike tried to kill you. That's attempted murder. We can't let this slide." Rose stopped crying for a second. "But he's our brother, Jimmy." "No," I answered. "He's not our brother anymore. Brothers don't kill brothers. Children don't kill parents." "But are you sure, Dad?" Rose insisted. "Are you absolutely sure Mike wanted to kill you?" I pulled out my phone and played the audio of Mike screaming at me when I told him Fred drank the bourbon. The screams, the desperation, the panic in his voice. When the audio ended, Rose went quiet. "That scream isn't someone worried about his dad," she whispered. "That's the scream of someone who knows his plan just blew up." Exactly. And when I went to his house, he confirmed it, in detail. Jimmy sat down again. "And Trish was in on it?" "Trish got the poison. She's a nurse. She has access to meds, and Dr. Roberts told them the dosage." "Sons of bitches," Jimmy muttered. "Sorry, Dad, but I don't have other words." "Nothing to forgive, son. I'm thinking much worse things." Rose grabbed my hand. "Dad, what are we going to do?" "What we have to do. Call the police, file a report, and let justice do its job." "But are you ready for that?" Jimmy asked. "To turn in your own son? To watch them cuff him? To go to court? Testify against him?" I stood there thinking. It was a fair question. Was I ready to see Mike in prison stripes? Was I ready for all of Pittsburgh to know my son tried to kill me? Yes, I said finally. I'm ready. Because if I don't, Mike will try to kill me again. And next time, I might not be so lucky. Rose nodded. You're right, Dad. If he's capable of this once, he's capable of it again. Besides, I added, Fred is in the hospital because of Mike. That man could have died drinking my poisoned bourbon, and even if he recovers, he's going to have damage. The doctor said pentobarbital can cause neurological damage, Jimmy noted. Did you talk to Fred? I spoke to him before I went to Mike's. He was in bad shape. Trish took him to the ER. When the doctors find the poison, they'll file a report. They'll investigate where it came from. What if Mike runs? Rose asked. He won't run. He's too much of a coward. Besides, where's he going to go? He's broke. That's why he wanted to kill me. Jimmy stood up again. Well then, let's go. Let's go to the precinct right now. Wait, I said. Before we go, I need you to help me with something. What? I need Rose to record everything I'm about to say. A full statement, from start to finish, just in case something happens to me. Rose looked scared. Why do you say that, Dad? Because Mike already tried to kill me once. And people like him, when they feel cornered, they'll do anything. You think he'll hurt you? I don't know. But better safe than sorry. Rose pulled out her phone. Okay, Dad, I'm recording. And Jimmy, I continued, I want you to take this bottle to a private lab. Have them analyze exactly what's in it. We need scientific proof. Doesn't the police do that? Yeah, but I want my own proof. Just in case. Rose had the phone ready. Start recording? Yes, but let me say one more thing. I looked at both of them. My 2 kids. The good ones. The ones who never gave me trouble, who always respected me, who never thought about hurting me. No matter what happens with Mike, you 2 will always be my children, and you will inherit everything I have, just like I always planned. Dad, don't talk about that now, Rose said. We have to talk about it, because Mike isn't getting a dime. A son who tries to kill his father deserves no inheritance. Did you change the will? Jimmy asked. I'm changing it tomorrow. Today we file the report. Tomorrow I handle the legal paperwork. Okay, Dad, Rose said. Whatever you decide. Now go ahead, because this is going to be a long war, and we're going to need all the ammo we can get. The police station smelled like stale coffee and cheap cigarettes. It was an old building, peeling paint, ceiling fans making more noise than wind. When we walked in, Rose, Jimmy, and I, the desk sergeant looked at us like 3 lunatics coming to report aliens stole our TV. How can I help you? The officer asked. A young kid, couldn't be more than 25. I'm here to file a report for attempted murder, I said, slamming the bourbon bottle on his desk. The kid straightened up. Attempted murder? Against whom? Against me. My son tried to kill me with this poisoned bottle. Okay, slow down. Sit down and tell me everything from the top. We sat on some uncomfortable plastic chairs. I told him the whole story, from Mike's arrival in the morning to the confrontation at his house. The officer took notes on a yellow legal pad, stopping every now and then to ask for details. And do you have proof the bourbon is poisoned? He asked. Fred Turner is admitted at County General right now. He drank 3 glasses of this stuff and got violently ill. The doctors are running tests. And where is your son now? At his house over in Oakwood Estates, 247 Jacarandas Street. The officer wrote down the address. Is he armed? He's an accountant, not a gangster. Well, he wasn't a criminal until today. All right, I'm going to call the commander to take your formal statement. Commander Rodriguez was an older guy, gray mustache, tough face. He knew my brother from back in the day at the steel mill. Frank Miller? Raoul Miller's brother? The very same, Commander. Your brother was a good man. We worked a theft case at the plant years ago together. He settled into his chair and looked me in the eye. Tell me what happened. I repeated the story, more detail this time, showed him the bottle, played the audio of Mike screaming, gave him the address. Are you sure you want to go through with this? The commander asked. It's your son. Once we file, there's no turning back. Commander, my son tried to kill me. If I don't file, what message am I sending? That he can try again? You're right. Sergeant Hernandez, pick up Mike Miller. Take a cruiser in 2 units. He might be desperate. Are you going to arrest him? Rose asked. We'll bring him in for questioning first. If he confesses, we book him. If not, we wait for the lab results. How long do those take? Jimmy asked. Depends. Rush job, 2 days. Normal, a week. It's a rush, I said. There's a man in the hospital because of this. The commander nodded. I'll call County General to confirm Mr. Turner's admission. While he made the call, an officer took us to a small room to write out our formal statements. Me first, then Rose, then Jimmy. Signed, sealed, official. 3 hours later, the commander came back looking grim. Frank, I spoke to the doctor treating Fred. Confirmed he came in with poisoning symptoms. They've drawn blood. How is he? Stable, but serious. Nervous system issues. Doctor says it was a massive dose of some sedative. A lump formed in my throat. Fred was a good man, hardworking, honest. And now he was in a hospital bed because of my son. And Mike? Did you get him? That's the problem. When we got to the house, he was gone. Neighbors say they saw his truck peel out around 6 p.m. Fast. He ran? Looks like it. But we have his description and plates. He won't get far. Rose grabbed my arm. Dad, if Mike ran, he knows he did something evil. Of course he knows. That's why he ran. The commander sat across from us. Frank, this changes things. It's not just attempted murder anymore. Now it's flight to avoid prosecution. This just got a lot more serious. What does that mean? It means when we catch him, bail won't be easy. A judge won't give parole to a flight risk. Good, Jimmy said. Keep him locked up so he can't hurt Dad again. What about Trish and the doctor? I asked. Send a unit for them too. We'll find Trish at home or work, looking for the doctor at his clinic. Just then, Sergeant Hernandez burst in, sweating. Commander, we got Patricia Turner at her house. She's in the squad car. And the doctor? Gone from the clinic. Staff says he left early and didn't come back. Another runner. Bring me Patricia. 5 minutes later, they walked Trish in, cuffed. She looked pale, terrified, eyes swollen from crying. When she saw me, she looked down. Patricia Turner, the commander said. You are accused of conspiracy to commit murder. You have the right to remain silent and the right to an attorney. I didn't mean to do anything bad, she mumbled. Then why did you do it? I asked. Trish looked at me with watery eyes. Frank, Mike told me you were suffering, that you wanted to die, that it was an act of love to help you. Liar, Rose shouted. My dad never said he wanted to die. It's true, Trish insisted. Mike told me 1,000 times that you cried for your wife, that you wouldn't eat, that you were depressed. Even if that were true, the commander cut in, that doesn't justify poisoning him. If a sick man wants to die, he does it himself. He doesn't need help. Where's Mike? I asked her. I don't know. When you left the house, Mike went crazy, said we had to run, that we were going to jail. I told him no, let's face the music, but he grabbed a bag and took off. Where did he go? He didn't say, just said he had to disappear for a while. The commander stared her down. Patricia, if you cooperate, the judge will take that into account. If you tell us where Mike might be, things go easier for you." She went quiet, thinking.
Mike has a cousin in Vegas, name's Rick. He lives near the Strip. Mike always said if he was ever in trouble, he'd go to Rick's. Do you have the address? No, but I know he works at a body shop called The Warrior on Tropicana Avenue.
The commander wrote it all down. "Hernandez, contact Las Vegas PD. Have them look for Mike Miller in that area."
What happens to me?
Trish asked. "You stay in custody. Tomorrow, you see the judge." When they led Trish away, I sat there watching the station buzz, cops coming and going, phones ringing, all because of my son.
Dad,
Rose said.
let's go home. We did what we had to do.
"Yeah," Jimmy added. "We'll deal with this tomorrow." I stood up. "Commander, will you call me when you find him?" "Absolutely, Frank. Don't worry, we'll get him. People who run always make mistakes." We walked out into the night. Pittsburgh looked different, like the city had changed in the hours we were inside. Or maybe I was the one who changed. I wasn't the man who woke up expecting a birthday card. I was the man who turned his son in for trying to murder him. 2 days later, Commander Rodriguez called me early. His voice was official. "Frank, they picked up Mike in Vegas. He's here at the station. You want to see him?" I held the phone, silent. Did I want to see him? Part of me was curious to see his face now that he was a common criminal. Another part never wanted to see him again. "Yeah, Commander, I'll be there. Come alone, Frank. It's better." When I got there, the mood was heavy. The commander met me with a grim face. "How is he?" I asked, not sure I cared. "Bad. Hasn't eaten, hasn't slept. Just cries and says he wants to talk to you." "Me? What for?" "Don't know. Says he has important things to say." I sat in the office. "And Dr. Roberts?" He talked, spilled everything. How Trish swiped the drugs, how Mike contacted him about lethal doses, how they planned it for weeks. Weeks? Yeah, Frank. This wasn't a snap decision. They planned this for over a month. That hurt more than anything. Mike hadn't acted on impulse. He'd planned my death every day for a month. What else? Doctor said the original plan was to make it look like a heart attack in your sleep. But Trish said it was too risky. Coroners might find evidence. So they went with the alcohol poisoning to make it look accidental. And the money? According to the doc, Mike figured you had about $180,000 saved, plus the house value. Split 3 ways, he'd get maybe $150,000. 150 grand? He was going to kill me for that? Apparently Mike has huge debts. Gambling, maybe. Business is under. He owes dangerous people. Why didn't he ask for help? I would have loaned him money. Because that wouldn't cover it all. And Trish convinced him it was better to solve the problem at the root. I sat there, processing. My son had calculated my death like a spreadsheet. He put a price tag on my life. $150,000. You want to see him? Yes. I want to hear what he has to say. They took me to an interrogation room, gray walls, metal table. Wait here. 5 minutes later, the door opened. I almost didn't recognize him. Mike had aged 10 years in 3 days. Stubble, dark circles, wrinkled clothes, walking like he carried the world on his back. Cuffed. Dad, he whispered, and started weeping. Sit down, I said. No emotion. He sat, sobbing. Dad, I don't know how to explain. Don't explain, Mike. Just answer. Okay. First question. Why? Because I have debts, Dad. The firm is under. I owe $120,000. And for that, you were going to kill me? It wasn't just that. Trish said you weren't happy, that you suffered since Mom died, that it was mercy. Bullshit! I yelled, standing up. That is pure bullshit. I never told you I wanted to die. But you looked sad, Dad. Everyone gets sad, Mike. That doesn't mean they want to die. I sat back down, breathing hard. Second question. How long did you plan it? About 6 weeks? 6 weeks thinking about how to kill me? Yes. And in those 6 weeks, you never thought to talk to me? To ask for help? I thought about it, but Trish said you wouldn't understand, that you'd think I was a failure. Mike, I worked 40 years in a steel mill. You think I don't understand money trouble? But you preferred to kill me. He cried harder. Forgive me, Dad. Please. I won't forgive you, Mike. And I'll tell you why. I walked behind him. I won't forgive you because Fred is in the hospital. Because of you. He's going to have health problems for life because of you. I didn't mean for Fred to... I don't care what you meant. I care what you did. I sat back down. I won't forgive you because when I confronted you, you showed no remorse, just panic because you got caught. I was sorry, Dad. No. Remorse is trying to fix the damage. Panic is worrying about punishment. And most of all, I won't forgive you because when you had the chance to face it like a man, you ran like a coward. He stayed silent. You know what hurts most? For 42 years, I thought you were my son, that I raised a good man. But you're not my son. My son would have asked for help. My son would have faced his mistakes. He wouldn't have run like a thief. The man sitting here is a stranger, a criminal, a coward. Mike stood up, desperate. Dad, I am your son. I'm Mike, the boy who helped you in the garage. That boy died, Mike. You killed him when you poured that poison. Don't say that. It's the truth. And criminals don't go to their dads when they're in trouble. They go to jail. Mike slumped, defeated. What's going to happen to me? I don't know. And it's not my problem anymore. Will you come to my trial? I'll be there to testify against you, so the judge knows exactly what you did. And after? After, you go your way and I go mine, like strangers. I walked to the door. Dad, wait! I turned one last time. Don't call me Dad, Mike. You don't have a father anymore. And I walked out without looking back. 3 months later, the trial came. The courtroom was packed. Journalists, rubberneckers, law students. Fred's family was there. Fred in a wheelchair because he still couldn't walk right. I wore my best suit, the one I wore to Connie's funeral. Rose and Jimmy sat behind me. The DA, a sharp guy named Mr. Herrera, told me my testimony was key. You're not just the victim, Mr. Miller. You're the star witness. Your words mean the difference between 10 years and 20. What's the difference? 10 if the judge thinks it's a family tragedy. 20 if we prove cold-blooded premeditation. That's exactly what I'll give you. When they called my name, I walked to the stand, swore on the Bible, saw Mike. He looked worse, thinner, defeated. Trish and Dr. Roberts were there too. Trish crying, Doc looking at the floor. Mike looked at me like he was begging for a lifeline. There wasn't one. I told the whole story, 40 minutes of details. Did you ever tell Mike you wanted to die? Asked the DA. Never. Were you depressed? I was grieving, like anyone who loses their wife of 45 years, but sad doesn't mean suicidal. Did he ask for money? Never. The defense lawyer tried to paint me as a lonely old man and Mike as a misguided son acting out of love. I shut him down. Counselor, love isn't poisoning your father. Love is visiting him. Love is caring. What Mike did was greed. Don't you feel compassion? He's your son. He was my son. And my compassion is with the man in the wheelchair over there, Fred, the innocent man Mike crippled. When I finished, Fred testified, shaking, slurring his words. He was a mechanic who couldn't hold a wrench anymore. It broke everyone's heart. Mike took the stand last, apologized, cried, said he loved me. The DA hammered him. If you loved him, why did you run? Why didn't you face it? Mike had no answer. The judge deliberated for 2 hours. We waited. Think you'll get the 20? Jimmy asked. I hope so. When we went back in, Judge Martinez read the sentence. First, premeditation is proven. Second, financial motive is established. Third, abuse of trust is clear. Fourth, grave injury to a third party. The room held its breath. Michael Miller, guilty of attempted murder in the first degree, sentenced to 22 years in state prison. No parole before 15 years. Mike collapsed. Patricia Turner, guilty of conspiracy, 15 years. Trish screamed. Dr. Roberts, guilty of conspiracy, 12 years. And a $500,000 restitution payment to Fred. I sat there. 22 years. Mike was 42. He'd be 64 when he got out. An old man. Anything to say? The judge asked. Mike stood up, tears streaming. Judge, I just want to ask my dad for forgiveness. He looked at me. Dad, do you forgive me? The whole room turned to me. Cameras, people, the judge. I stood up slowly, walked to the railing. Mike, I said loud and clear. I raised 3 kids, Rose, Jimmy, and a boy named Mike. That boy was good. But that boy died 3 months ago. The man in front of me is a criminal who used a father's love as a weapon. So no, I don't forgive you. Not because I'm cruel, but because forgiveness is for family. And you are not my family. I turned my back. The gavel banged. Court adjourned. The bailiffs dragged them away, Mike screaming my name until the door slammed shut. Outside, reporters swarmed. Are you happy? I'm satisfied justice was served. Will you ever forgive him? When he gets out, I'll be 95 or dead. So he won't get the chance to ask again. What do you tell other parents? I tell them being a parent doesn't mean letting your kids destroy you. Love has boundaries. Attempted murder crosses them. We went to dinner. Quiet. Empty feeling. Does it hurt? Rose asked. It hurts losing the son I thought I had. It doesn't hurt losing the criminal he became. I went home, sat on my porch, looked at my tomatoes. 73 years old. I'd sent my son to prison for 22 years. Did I regret it? No. Doing the right thing hurts, but it's still the right thing. Fred called to thank me. You saved us both, Frank. If you hadn't spoken up, he would have tried again. I slept peacefully for the first time in months. 1 year later, I woke up on March 15th again, my 74th birthday. But this time was different. Rose brought the grandkids. Jimmy brought his wife. Even Fred walked in, using a cane but walking on his own 2 feet. We ate in the backyard under the oak tree I planted 20 years ago. Real family, sharing real moments. Fred leaned over to me. "You know, Frank," he said, "you saved my life that day. But you also saved your own dignity." I looked at my grandkids running through the garden. Life is a series of hard choices, and sometimes the hardest ones are the only ones that let you sleep at night. I took a sip of my coffee, black, no sugar, and for the first time in a long time, it didn't taste bitter at all. It tasted like peace. This story might be fiction, but the line between loving your children and losing yourself is a line every parent walks, and God help the man who has to draw it in the sand.